Hello, my name is Thomas Paschik, and today I want to talk to you about the writing process. The first thing I want to get across to you is that writing is indeed a process. There's steps to it, there's segments to it, there's different components. It's very seldom that someone can just sit down, have an idea pop into their head, bang it out on the keyboard, and write a masterpiece. That's not how it works. Now that being said, the writing process is different for different people in different places. What I'm going to teach you today is a writing process that I'm most comfortable with, and a writing process that I believe is applicable to a lot of different scenarios. The first step is the pre-writing process. And the first thing you really need to work about is your purpose. What is the purpose of this writing? Is it just for enjoyment? Is it your journal or your diary? Right? If that's the case, there are no rules. Right? Write it the way you want it. It's for you. Right? And that brings me to the second point. Who is your intended audience? If it's just for yourself, well then you only worry about yourself. However, if you're writing it for the court, or you're writing it for elementary students, or if you're writing it for a doctor, all right, you're going to use different vocabulary. You might use a different tone. So you have to keep these things in mind before you start writing. All right, have an idea of what your purpose is and who your intended audience is. Now, for the argumentative essay that I'm assigning now, I'm going to give you a pre-writing organizer that I think will help you out a lot. And a lot of the work for your essay will be done by completing this organizer. So don't look at it as you're putting all this time in and you're wasting your time. Trust me, it will come in very handy. So if the first step is pre-writing, your second step is what I like to call the downdraft. Just get it down on paper. If there's going to be flaws, it's not going to be perfect, but it gives you a starting point. Get it down on paper. The next step would be editing. This can be done in numerous ways. It can be done by self-editing, where you read it yourself, you look for flaws. If possible, compare it to a grading rubric, so you know you have all the components that the teacher is going to be looking for. You could also have your peers edit your paper. In the class that you're in, there's probably multiple students that are working on a similar essay, right? Exchange ideas with each other. Exchange your downdrafts with each other, right? Read it. Give some feedback, all right? It can be very helpful. Also, if you want, you can always email me your downdraft. I'd be happy to take a look at it. If you email it to me, it doesn't mean I'll get it back to you the same day. So I would allow for at least 3 to 4 school days for me to get it back to you. So don't procrastinate. Get it to me as soon as possible. I will read it. I will provide you some feedback. After you've done the pre-writing, after you have written your downdraft, after you've done some editing, then you can write what I like to call the updraft. Right? You fixed it up. All right? This is your best work. This is what you think your final product is going to be, right? Type it out. However, I strongly suggest after you write it, proof it. Read it one more time, all right? Find the silly typos. Find the mistakes that could easily be corrected if you would have just taken a few minutes to read it. And one thing that I suggest, even though this might sound a little bit silly, go somewhere private and read it out loud. A lot of times you can catch mistakes when you actually hear them. So that's a very strong suggestion I have for you. And the final step would be to publish it. All right. For many of you, that's going to be to hit the print button and turn it into your teacher, or to attach it to an email and submit it. So, in conclusion, the steps to the writing process that I commonly use and teach to my students is pre-writing, downdraft, editing, updraft, proof, and publish. And keep in mind, the stages between the downdraft and editing, those can be repeated over and over again, right? Because the more people you have read it, the more people you have provide you feedback, probably the more insight you're going to get and the better final project you're going to have.